Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you how to keep your mail inbox clean by using the Remind Me feature. Now, I'd like to keep my mail inbox clean, nothing in it. If there is something there, then I take care of it right there and then when I'm checking email. Sometimes that just means reading the message. Other times it means responding. Sometimes you have to take an action, do something, and then respond. In some cases, I'll add a calendar event, for instance. In other cases, I may add something to my to-do list in the Reminders app. Now, in the past, if there's something there that I just can't take care of right now, instead of leaving the item in my mail inbox, I add something to Reminders to remind me to do it later on, either something with a specific time deadline or just something to my to-do list. And then I archive the email so I can keep my inbox clean. But starting with macOS 13, there's a way for you to keep your inbox clean, but also get reminded to take care of some tasks later on without going to another app. For instance, say you get a message like this, and it's something that you just want to take care of later. You don't want to be bothered with it right now. But you want to clean out your inbox, so you could just add a to-do list item in the Reminders app so you remember to get to it later on when you got some free time. But you can do this inside of the Mail app using a feature that's here. Now, you're not going to find it as a button here in the toolbar or any obvious way to do this. But if you go to the Message menu with that message selected, you'll find a whole submenu called Remind Me. And you could set Mail to actually remind you about this message in an hour, later tonight, tomorrow, or set a specific time. Instead of remembering where that is in the menu bar, you could simply use the context menu. So that's a right click on a mouse, two-finger click on a trackpad, or hold Control and click on the message. And Remind Me is right here as well. So this will work on that message the same way the menu item does. Now, if you select one of the first three, then you're done. It'll just remind you in an hour, tonight, or tomorrow. If you select Remind Me Later, it gives you this little calendar interface, and you could set a specific date. And you can do this by typing. You can tab between these fields. You can click in the little calendar interface. There are buttons here to go forward and backward months. Click the dot there to jump to the current month. And you can set the time here. You can tab forward to the hour and minute and AM or PM, or you can click here as well. You could also just use these arrows to say increase the minute by 1 or 2. And you can even drag the hour hand here in this clock to make it really easy. So I could set this to say, remind me at some point in the future and schedule. Now, when I've done that, I get this little clock indicator here showing me that I've set a remind me for this message. I also find it here inside of Remind Me underneath favorites. So far, so good, except that it's still there in my inbox, which isn't what I want. I want to clear this out. Maybe if this is going to remind me tomorrow, I don't want it cluttering up my inbox, making me look at it each time I'm going through my mail for the next day. Well, you could just go ahead and archive this message as you might normally do using this button, or I like to use the keyboard command Control, Command, and A. And it will actually archive the message, just like you're done with it, except it's still going to be here in Remind Me. By the way, if you find these videos valuable, consider joining the 2,000 others that support MACMOST at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. So the first thing is this Remind Me list here is basically a list of links to messages that in this case are in my archive folder, but they also could be remaining in my inbox. So I can go through these later on. So maybe I set this Remind Me for tomorrow, but I do have some time later in the day, so I can go in here, select the message, and maybe take care of the task even earlier than I expected to. Note when you select a message that has a Remind Me set, it shows you at the top here, Mail will remind you about this message, and then when. And you can click Edit and edit that. So you could set it for later or sooner, for instance, or click Remove Reminder to take that reminder away completely. So if I took care of this task right now, then I could click Remove Reminder. It would disappear from Remind Me. I've already taken it out of my inbox, so that means it's just going to remain in my archive folder, just like if I completed the task when I originally got the message. Otherwise, when the time arrives, what'll happen is two things. First, I should get a notification depending on my notification settings. And the second thing is that it should move back into my inbox. If I was already in my inbox, I'm just going to have a little message there at the top of my inbox letting me know that this item has now reached its remind me time. One interesting thing to know is if you just stay here on the inbox, it may not actually appear here right away. But if you leave and go somewhere else, like I'll look at my flagged messages here and then go back to the inbox, then you can see the inbox updates through that action. And now I see how this message has returned to my inbox, even though I moved it to the archive folder, because that's part of what Remind Me will do. And you can see it's no longer in the Remind Me list, as now it's returned to the inbox. And you can see at the top it says now Mail reminded you about this message. And now I can take care of it, or I can edit and then push it back even further. So if somebody sends you a message asking you to do something periodically, you can actually still use this like that. You can now edit this message and set it to, for instance, remind you at the end of the month, and then archive it. And then when you get that reminder, you can change it to the end of the next month and archive it again. So the message will keep coming back to you. But if you're already using the Reminders app to remind you of things like this, or the Calendar app to remind you of things, and maybe even have a recurring event in the Calendar app, then by all means continue using that. It's probably a slightly better method. But this is a good method for when it's just a simple email and you really quickly just want to dismiss it, get it out of your inbox, but still make sure that you're going to get a reminder about it at some point in the future. And note this is also available on the iPhone and iPad. All you need to do is tap that reply button at the bottom, and you can see Remind Me is one of the options you have, and you set it up in a similar way. This isn't a function of iCloud email. You can use it with any email service that you happen to be using with the Mail apps. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.